40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. You know I'm 40% podcast. You know I'm 40% podcast, baby. I'm only 40%. Go. 40% podcast. I'm 40% podcast.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jinkx Monsoon, and welcome to a brand new episode of I'm 40% Podcast.
Woo!
With me, as always, is the little shit, the daddy king of what? Silver Lake? Where do you live now? Echo Park.
Why is this hard?
The daddy king of Echo Park.
I know about Lads Edition. Why don't you know about Echo Park?
Yeah, I'm a very fascinating person. It's easy anyway.
Nice to see you, Mom.
Nice to see you too.
We got another good episode this week, and we got a great guest.
It's such a good episode, such a great guest. Very, very lucky to have Ariel Ladensohn. Ladensohn? Ladensohn.
No, you said it right. Lads Edition.
Well, you did so much talking about it, Nick. It got me all flustered. Ariel Ladensohn, who just happens to be a writer on the upcoming new season of Futurama. So it's very exciting because we have you here for our last Futurama Classique.
Doom, 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 doom.
I'm honored.
And then we're going to pause in season 3. The podcast is going to keep going, but we are going to skip ahead and we'll be reviewing weekly the new episodes of Futurama. So this is a perfect guest for today and a perfect episode for this guest. Welcome, Ariel.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. I agree on the episode. This feels to me like one of the most classic Futurama episodes in a way. So I was excited to talk to you guys about it.
Guest stars abound. I dare say this is, I don't even need to preface it. I'm just going to state it. This is Pauly Shore's best work.
Well, have you seen a movie called A Goofy Movie? Because I think they could go toe-to-toe.
So basically, Pauly Shore, good actor on screen, fantastic, brilliant actor in animation.
Oh, man.
I have no comment on Pauly Shore. Ariel, you've written for quite a few animated programs.
Yeah.
You did some kids shows, but you also worked on Solar Opposites, which is a show that Jinkx and I enjoy.
I love that show.
Oh, good.
How did that come about?
So Solar, I feel like it's kind of been an interesting journey into adult animation. I sort of started out in playwriting and then got into kids animation through like a playwriting friend. And yeah, I was developing a project with Starburns, which is the production company that did Solar Opposites, and was like a huge Rick and Morty fan. And they passed along basically a sample that I had written to Mike McMahon, who created the show. So
awesome.
Yeah, and it kind of set off like this crazy like adult animation for the last like 5 years basically, and it's been awesome because I'm such a huge fan. So to get a chance to work in it is insane.
When you were applying to Futurama, were you like, hey, look, I already did a funny, like, adult animation Future-y show?
So that's the crazy thing is I've now done a lot of, like, really specific genre animation and a lot in sci-fi. But I actually, weirdly, it's like you kind of don't, with writing jobs, you kind of hear about things like if you get an interview. So I got an email essentially out of the blue from my agents being like, just FYI, Futurama is coming back. Also, do you want to interview to be on the show? And I freaked out. I was like, and just the fact that it was coming back would have been huge news for me. So to get to interview and be a part of it has been this like very surreal experience that I'm really not expecting to ever happen ever again. It's just been awesome.
Oh my God, it's so cool. It's exciting. And we're so excited that the show's coming back.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
And
I think you
that
guys
actually
will like
brings
it.
us.
Yeah.
I think we will like it.
Wait,
but that
don't
brings us to our news segment.
Don't you skip along.
news, everyone.
No, news segment.
No, you let me gush over our guest for a second.
Fine.
First of all,
I'm going to hit the button again later,
I
though.
too am a huge Rick and Morty fan, and I love that there is queerness in Rick and Morty, but Solar Opposites is like, let's take the humor of Rick and Morty and kind of like the sci-fi anything can happen premise and lean into a queer relationship, which I absolutely love. And their relationship is so nuanced and complex. I just love them so much. I identify... I don't know why I can't think of any characters' names right now.
Terry,
I've seen
Corvo?
Terry. I identify with Terry so much, but also I'm the Corvo normally in my relationships. It's so funny. I always identify with the Terry, but I know I'm the Corvo. But it's like default, like people like Nick make me the Corvo. I don't need to be a Corvo, but you get to be the Terry, and it forces me into being the Corvo because someone's got to be the Corvo. Anyway, it's a lovely
Interesting.
show.
So funny. If you get pissed off enough and then you just shift from Terry to Corvo, I think that's everyone's experience.
We all contain multitudes.
Yes, exactly. Oh, I'm glad you like it though.
Yeah, so I'm very excited to see the new season of Futurama. I'm excited to see the future of Solar Opposites. More power to you, Ariel. Congrats. This is great.
Well, you guys are so sweet. And honestly, like, back at you both. I'm a fan of the pod. This is another thing where it's like a weird combination of my interests would somehow overlap that would be very shocking. And yeah, I mean, Jinkx, I've been like a huge fan of you for ages on Drag Race.
Oh, don't you
and
dare say how long.
No, I know. You're 21. It's okay.
Woman, darling.
But it was crazy seeing like the queen of all queens, because I felt like there was a moment kind of early in the season when it became pretty obvious you were just head and shoulders above everybody else, who were very good, and you just saw the light go out of every other queen's eyes. And so it was a sad season in a way. Like, it was just a little...
That's a brutal analysis of All-Star 7.
They're all very good. Like, I love them all.
Comment, but also... God, I love you. Okay, let's now you can push the button.
Good news, everyone!
We're coming at you from the past, so this news is not new to you. You are listening to this episode on the eve of the new Futurama season debuting.
Yeah.
But in the world before we see the premiere of the new Hulu era of Futurama, I was wondering if we wanted to talk about these episode titles that came out. Is that a spoiler? Are we allowed?
I think maybe Hulu put them up.
I think they did. So I think it's
Find
allowed.
the source material before we get our precious Ariel in any kind of
trouble.
It's just in my Google Doc.
I know. I'm a little bit.
Follow the link.
I don't want to say any of them.
Out?
I mean, I know that there's a lot of stuff that's been on Reddit, so I'll just say you're more than welcome to say whatever you want about them since they're on the internet, but I probably can't, say too much about them.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, we'll just look at your face and infer things.
I'm on
the 10
Hulu
episode
now.
titles.
Wait. I'm gonna find.
Are you doing research, Jinkx?
Oh my God.
Are you being a hacker?
I'm looking on Hulu to see if there's any kind of announcement.
If you two could remake Hackers, I would watch it with you too.
Hackers is a perfect film. Has anyone seen Hackers?
Does the new Futurama have a different tab, or is it part of the...
It's not on the Hulu, like,
No,
I don't
Mom,
think it's going to be on...
it. Just type in Futurama episode titles into Google, because that's how it came up for me. It was a news story. It was like a Newsweek or something. Is Newsweek?
Okay, no, it says it released. They released it.
Okay,
it's on IMDb. We're good. Okay, we're fine.
Okay.
Great.
Go ahead. Go ahead with your funny little bit, jokester.
It's not a bit. I just want to talk about them. It's exciting.
Oh,
Okay.
Jay Leno's headlines. Here we go.
The episode titles are The Impossible Stream. I don't know. Maybe that's about like the streaming services, and maybe it's a comment that now
I
it's a
vote
streaming
piss.
show.
It's about piss.
Rage Against the Vaccine. Ooh.
Whoa, topical.
Very topical. Speaking of topical, we have one called Zap Gets Canceled. Long overdue.
One of my favorites in the new season.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it. We have The Prince and the Product. Who knows what that product could be? Related to items you viewed. Maybe something about like buying things online? What do you think, Mom?
Related to items you viewed? Oh, probably it's about an algorithm that takes over the world.
Children of a Lesser Bog. Ooh, do you think they're going to go back to Kif?
Amy's Kif!
Oh my god. I'm sure you can't comment, Ariel, but I think we know what that one's about.
Oh.
How the West Was 1010001, which is just a perfect title. I Know What You Did Last Xmas. I think we're going to see Evil Santa Robot this season. Parasites Regained. Huge title. Whoa.
That's a deep cut.
And the final one for this round is All the Way Down. So that one's a little more ambiguous. But
That
I feel
sounds
like we have a
like
good
an
idea
episode
of what to
title I
expect.
would have come up with.
Very
This is
different
very
episode had you written it, I think, Jinkx. Way more blowjobs than in
you're
that one,
obviously
I can
being
confirm.
careful about what you say, Ariel, but you've already given us a scoop that Zap Gets Canceled is a treat of an episode.
We can
It's a
make
treat.
a
Looking
smash
forward to
cut
it.
edit of Ariel's facial reactions to the title.
Oh no, I'm gonna get like an email from Hulu being like,
no, we're not gonna
you're
get you in.
fucked up, you're fired.
We're not gonna get you in any trouble, my dear. You are
No.
safe with us.
Thank you.
I can't wait to talk about this episode.
Let's get into it.
And I think it's such a, oh my God, it's got all the perfect things in this episode. It's got everything that makes me a Futurama super fan. This episode
Lore.
possesses.
We got lore.
We got lore. We got the irrelevance of time in this universe, which I love.
The episode is called The Cryonic Woman. Original air date December 3rd, 2000. And I'm going to start saying that now.
Now, first and foremost, because it doesn't, I mean, I feel like the whole episode is a nod to it, but I can't remember if there's specific jokes about it. But Pauly Shore was in the film Encino Man, which is about Brendan Fraser being a caveman who's been frozen alive and then like thaws out in the like early 90s and has to blend into 90s society as a high school student. So the fact that Pauly Shore has been frozen alive is brilliant, just as a way to begin. I mean, like, we're not there yet, but we all know it's coming.
Ariel,
It's
you a
just a
Pauly Shore
weasel.
fan? You watching Biodome? You watching Son-in-Law?
That's the funny thing is I feel like I was a huge fan of Pauly Shore as a kid because when you're like 9...
Yeah.
Freeze the
He's
Weasel
great.
is enough to, like, that's comedy. I'm like, he's a genius. That's how I felt about him after Encino Man. Like, no trace of irony.
The one thing I
Yeah.
wanted to say about the date is I thought that last week's episode was a comment on the War on Terror, but it was like 3 years before that. So this show is just prophetic because America keeps making the same mistakes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of, like, history buffs on the staff, too. I feel like of the OG crowd. So I think...
They saw it coming. They saw the
I
War
guess
on Terror
so.
coming.
Just like The Simpsons
Also, Matt
predicting
Groening's in the
everything
Illuminati,
that's
so he got the
happened.
memo.
Remember how The Simpsons predicted all of this? Okay, so
There's no cold open.
There's no cold open, but I love how it does begin. Oh wait, do you got to
get
do
a
your little
Chiron.
Chiron bit? Go ahead.
The Chiron says, not a substitute for human interaction. This is really good. It's self-aware. It hit home for me. 5 out of 5 Chirons.
4.5 out of 5 Chirons.
There's no
for me.
0.5, so you have to pick one.
Oh god damn it, 5.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go with 4 out of 5 Chirons. It's a very solid Chiron, but I feel like some of the Chirons make me laugh out loud when I
Yeah.
see them. So that's the only reason it's not getting 5 is because I didn't see it and just like burst out laughing.
I
But
It's
feel
a softer
solid.
chuckle.
I feel seen by the Chiron. I feel like the Chiron knows why I watch this show.
Because it is a substitute for human interaction for you.
Because- No, it's like a bridge into human interaction for me.
Oh.
Like if I didn't have cartoons and video games, I wouldn't know what humans talk about.
Fry and Bender are playing with the toy spaceship. Bender breaks it with a hammer, and they both laugh. So, nice bonding moment for them.
Just classic.
My favorite part of this is Fry, a full-grown adult, going, pew, pew, woo. I mean, I say it all the time, Nick, but you are Fry. Fry is you. I've never seen you doing this, but it's not outside the realm of possibility. You've got little toy spaceships in your house.
Maybe. There's a lot of stuff that's not unpacked yet. My life isn't fully organized. They see the keys to the real spaceship, and they're like, ooh, maybe we should play with that.
Oh, wait, there's a great line. Now that we're done destroying that fake spaceship, what do you want to do? It's like very much like now that we've destroyed the fake spaceship.
It's a great lead-in.
Yeah.
Just so solid.
And this cuts to the kitchen where the entire Planet Express crew is hanging out, and Leela exposits that the ship isn't going anywhere because she anchored it to Planet Express headquarters with the unbreakable diamond filament from the Lost City of Atlanta episode.
This diamond filament comes up a lot. Is it dimondium, or is that what Wernstrom
I think
creates?
dimondium is something else. I think
it's later, but it sort of does tie back because it does feel like this is like an early iteration of dimondium.
Maybe it is made of dimondium and we just haven't defined that resource yet.
Dimondium is an important element in the Futurama universe, but like, doesn't Wernstrom have his own like knockoff dimondium, like called
zirconium?
No,
diamond. It's almost exactly the same word, but I can't remember what it is.
Oh, diamondylium.
That's it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. This is
ship?
also. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, take it, Ariel.
Well, just so one of the writers and executive producers, Ken Keeler, who I feel like is super instrumental to the show, I feel like he loves filament and has all this crazy shit on his desk that's like little pieces of mechanical stuff, bits of steel rope. So I feel like this may be a Ken.
Oh, do you think that the joke about the professor having like the assorted lengths of wire is also based on that? Because that's in the pilot episode, is it not?
That's exactly what I thought about.
It sounds like a Ken joke. I don't know for sure, but it does sound like it could have been Ken. Yeah.
Listen, I'm going to take this opportunity to say, if your staff ever needs like, if you're ever like, what does the superfan viewer remember? Like what?
Remember,
like you pitch ideas to us and we say, no, that already happened. Leela already did that. You know,
they already occupied that space, and it's me just pitching things and them saying we've done this 14 times. But I'll let them know you guys are available.
I want to be a Futurama historian.
We are the show Bible. The ship takes off, and there's a very funny sound bite as the Planet Express is dragged along behind it. We just hear Zoidberg say, "This isn't good for Zoidberg." And then we've got some landmark jokes here. The Planet Express ship is dragging Planet Express by various landmarks. Which was our favorite?
I like
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
Me too.
Joke.
Okay.
It's so
It's
stupid
gonna be the
and
same
good.
thing.
Just when it kills it writes it, and it's like wrong, and they're upset, and then it leans, and they're excited again, and then it kills everyone. Just, yeah. Solid construction.
I did think the Great Wall of China was pretty funny, too, because the Mongolian soldiers were just waiting there the whole time.
Thousands and thousands of years.
Oh, man.
And they're just right outside.
Bender's steering with his ass. Fry says that's the best thing I ever saw.
That's the best thing I ever seen.
And they land the ship without realizing what they've done. Like, the Planet Express just lands beneath them and they land inside
nobody's the wiser. And they come out, and I love that Leela's holding the diamond filament like, look at what you did. Here's a little like quick explanation so that everyone's caught up. And the way she's holding it, like, I'm telling you, this diamond filament is like, because we know dimondium plays such a big role in the universe, I think that this is like deep foreshadowing. It brings
did
nothing
like-
but distraction.
I will say from listening to the future episodes, the amount of foreshadowing that you think the writer's room does and how much you think everything has been like really thought out and perfectly constructed is hilarious to me. I mean, not that there isn't some of it there, but I'm like, it's a show. You write it week by week.
Listen, once the shadow thing entered the universe,
The Nibbler's shadow of it all.
The Nibbler shadow basically set our mind to believe that everything has meaning.
There
so
is
even
some
if
of it,
you
I'll say.
don't put it in there as writers, it's our job as super fans to assign meaning to everything. I mean, it's just like
I
what
think
the
that's
drag fan base does that to drag queens all the time. At least this is fictional characters.
It's like harmless QAnon is what it feels like.
Fry and Bender are fired for their actions, but so is Leela because she should have known better. So they're all three fired, and they go outside, and everyone decides that Zoidberg is the popular one now.
Yes, everybody, let's all talk to Zoidberg. We skipped over. God, the professor has all the good lines. He goes, "What? I mean, what?" I love, because he's oftentimes saying one thing and then saying, "I mean," and then he says the same thing over again. But this is a really good bait and switch when he goes, I think it's earlier in the episode when he learns that Leela left the keys behind, but the professor really swings his power around in this episode.
Yeah, it is shocking that they get fired. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, you don't think that they can. Like, it seems like out of all the,
All the
rules that
things
get
they've
bent
done.
in the world, like, these people always have to work here. So I do feel like it's like kind of shocking in a way.
Yeah.
It's a big status quo shift.
Mhm.
What's gonna
Well,
happen?
temporarily for one episode.
Yeah, well, that's what Futurama is all about, baby. I'm gonna tell you. So they're in the park because they're jobless, and Fry reminisces about his girlfriend by looking at a picture of her and that ski instructor she was just friends with.
That is one of my favorite things in the whole episode. It's like the 80s references of, is it like the movie Ski School or something like that? Just that there's
Ski
like
School.
the 80s ski villain. Like I
I
felt
watched
like there
that for
was
the first
this-
time recently, yeah.
Really? Was it good? Like, did it hold up?
No, they were doing it on How Did This Get Made, which is a bad movie podcast. So no, I don't
Yes.
think it holds up per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm
But it's
not
pretty
sure that I've
fun.
actually seen it, but I feel like I've seen affiliate movies that are like copies
There's a
of
lot
Ski
of
School.
parodies
I've never
of it,
seen
yeah.
it, but it's one of those things that I've like. I knew exactly what movie you were talking about. I think South Park did a parody episode
that's
of
why
it.
I know it. Yes, it's from
Exactly.
the Timeshare South Park
It's
episode.
just like
That's exactly it.
It's like Star Wars, where it's like I've never seen a single Star Wars movie, but I've been inundated with it by my culture and society that I know everything about it. So we know the trope of it's a good little, like, if you're paying attention joke. It's like what Tony Soto was saying. Like, it's a show where if you're not giving it your full attention, you're missing half the jokes.
So Leela decides that they should just use their old career chips because she still has them in
Fry?
a manila
it's how
envelope.
we met.
Then what happened? So for those who don't remember, these are like chips that assign you the job you're best at, and they are inserted into your hand. So Leela inserts them both and goes to her old job at the cryogenic lab, and we see her old boss and her old coworkers there.
But she's implanted the wrong chip, and she's actually now a pizza delivery boy, and Fry is the cryogenics officer. And I
It
guess
seems like
Bender
there's such
as
a
a
quick fix
robot
for
just
this.
goes wherever the human goes because...
Well, remember Bender had that arm
Yeah. Chainsaw juggler.
chainsaw juggler, really good joke. But it's funny on two levels because the chainsaw man chopped off his own arm, but also why does this cryogenics lab just need a chainsaw juggler?
And they
stuff.
don't register that it's weird. It's like it's totally
Yeah.
fine for Bender to have a severed arm.
So they start unfreezing people. It's kind of the hitch of this part of the episode is various unfreezing pranks.
Yes.
They unfreeze
Fry
a guy
not
and
knowing how the probulator works is pretty good.
so funny.
Um,
like,
it does.
oh, it's done. And he's like, that's not so bad.
Oh,
wait.
no, wait. It's about to start. And then it dings, and it's even more horrible noises happen, and he's like, just about to start. The probulator. I just love what things are named in this show.
Yeah, and I like that they call back to the probulator because that's just kind of a one-off joke in the first episode. There's a lot of callbacks in this episode. This is maybe the first, I don't know, big, like, lore-filled callback episode. Is there one I'm forgetting?
I don't know.
No, I think you might be right. It does feel like this was kind of like a transition moment. Even the joke, it's like starting out with the Fry and Bender bit and Bender steering with his ass. Like it felt like the jokes were lined up that if you liked the show, that this does feel like that kind of like first like referential moment that maybe is appealing to people that have been fans the whole time in that way.
Yeah. You know,
this is a true golden age for sure.
I say the same thing about Futurama as I do with Steven Universe. When you do a show that's about sci-fi, you attract like the kind of people who like to piece everything together because that's like what sci-fi often is. And that's why I was kind of saying like whether Futurama intends to be or not, it does weave together this like universe that a sci-fi-esque fan can piece together all of these things, which is exactly what Nick and I have been doing for the last 20 years.
Yeah, I feel like I said that wrong too. There is so much thought that goes into putting everything together, but just the level of detail. That's all. No, but I think that, to be honest, I think that is why the show has held up and people like it, and I, would credit David X. Cohen and everyone on staff, but there is like so much thought put into each individual joke. Like it's very, like it does feel like a show that is very like line by line, very carefully crafted, which isn't, not always the case.
May I ask, Ariel, what's your star sign?
Oh, I'm a Libra.
A Libra. Okay. I promise you. You did not give me any.
No, I think that's just being a woman, maybe. Being like, what did I say? I should apologize for it.
No, I'm a Virgo who works intimately with a Libra, and we both will trigger each other's anxieties constantly.
It actually was like during the room, because it was a Zoom room, and at one, you inevitably stumble over each other because there's a little lag and you're pitching jokes. And I would apologize when I spoke over someone, and one of the other writers, Patrick Verone, was like, you can stop. Like, it's okay. Just. So, yeah. It's, millennial woman issue, I think.
Millennial woman issue. I wonder where you got it from.
Fry is taking power naps in the cryogenic tube, which sounds nice. I spent some time in the tube myself. It was very relaxing.
Because of the canon of this podcast.
Yeah, I was frozen in a tube. I'm sure you remember.
Wait,
Ariel.
Oh yeah, I did that to you.
It was mostly Nicole Byer.
It was mostly Nicole Byer.
Yes, okay.
She was the most active participant in my freezing. But she was kind of being your lackey. Anyhow.
Okay, go on.
They start unfreezing some more people, and they get to Pauly Shore.
Yes.
And this is the big scene. He talks
Fry's
for like 60 seconds, and I tuned out.
No, it's a great moment because they unfreeze Pauly Shore. We cut straight to the probulator, and Pauly's floating there naked. And Fry says, I loved you in the movie Biodome. And then Pauly, in a very eloquent way, explains that biodomes are they only operate in concept, that they're not actually good for society. And then he goes, whether it be dome, globe, or the stately tetrahedron, buddy. And it's such a good joke because he talks so smart and eloquently for so long and then ends with buddy.
I think, two things about this that I noticed. One, I think this may be a Ken Keeler thing too. Ken loves tetrahedrons, so I feel like this is Ken's. And then the other thing was that there was one thing where he was like supposed to say, read the biodome. Like, you'd say on an email or something. And he says,
but he said Ray.
The biodome. And I was like,
I
did
noticed
he
that.
not know what, like, like, there was just something off where I was like,
I
publishers
wouldn't have
never
got what he was
seen an
saying,
email.
but I had the subtitles on, and it
He
said
thought it was
Ari
Latin or
colon.
something.
Yeah, something was like, is that actor thing where you say the lines, but there's no conception
and no one
of what's going on
catches
inside.
it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like one of my favorite singers, Uta Lemper. She's German, but she sings a lot in English, and she's acted on Broadway, and she has covered a lot of the great Broadway hits. But in the song Don't Tell Mama, she says, it sweets me fine instead of suits me fine, because she probably
'cause it's
saw
spelled
the
that way,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like one of those things that I caught like when I was a teenager, and I'm like, why doesn't anyone else notice this? Like, I need someone to talk to about this.
Interesting if true.
Okay, moving on.
No, but I do understand. And I think that is part of the fun bit is when stuff gets fucked up. I don't know why. When you're like a diehard fan of a show, that's the best bit.
Absolutely.
Is the one that just like does not work together. It's like something's just like a teeny bit off. So I do understand.
They prank people by like unfreezing them and pretending to be bug monsters who have taken over the planet and stuff.
Flies, gorillas.
They scare a man so bad that he has a heart attack, so they just put him back in the tube.
And turn him into a snack pantry for some reason.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And they finally, in their pranking, open up a tube, and it is, surprise, surprise, Fry's ex-girlfriend, Michelle.
Voiced
And they have a
by
sweet little reunion.
Sarah
voiced by Sarah
Silverman.
Silverman. Comedy icon Sarah Silverman. One of my stand-up inspirations for the 12 years that I did stand-up, I was basically
Mine
ripping
too.
off her comedic voice.
Okay, so Sarah Silverman continues to be an inspiration for me because she was a comedic inspiration. Her use of satire is so brilliant. And then as conversations progressed and we started being more mindful to like the effect words have on our society, she took a hard shift in her comedy and now does a completely different brand, but just as funny and so insightful. She's one of the reasons why I think comedians, like those like truly great comedians, are also the most brilliant people on the planet. Anyway, Sarah Silverman, if you're listening, I hope your dick got thoroughly sucked by all of that and come on the show. We would have you in a heartbeat.
Anytime.
But it's true. I think like with comedy, and obviously we're watching something that was written a while back. It's like there's two ways you can go back and look at stuff, which is to just be blind to it and be like, everything I said is fine and funny, or actually reflective. And I feel like Sarah Silverman doing that has been a really good blue point for other comedians, most of whom have not followed that, right? It's like mostly we get the like hard turn into like being Trumpy or weird.
And they just dig in and get contrarian.
Yeah, I love it because showing like someone at the height of like her, you know, she's a very influential person in the comedy community. So for her to be someone to take such a hard shift and then basically pose like, why couldn't everyone do that? You know, like, and I have noticed that more often than not, it's the female comedians who are happy to take the shift, and it's the male comedians who are like, this is how I've always said comedy. How dare you tell me about blah, blah, blah. And I'm not surprised by it.
I'm out of stand-up, so I don't have a horse in the race anymore. But what I always said to that is you're basically admitting that you can't write more jokes.
Yeah,
you could just write more jokes.
It does feel that way. It's like if the only comedy you could do is like racist, sexist, homophobic, and you've got nothing else, like it's not a great look, you know?
Yeah.
But I will say, like, it is interesting just as like a queer woman in comedy writing, and it's a lot of straight guys. That's like 95% of who I work with. And so some do make the shift, I'll say, like better than others. Like Futurama is a super thoughtful room. I think because also it's like if I say, like if there's a joke made and I'm like, I'm not sure we should do that. Sometimes the response is in other places like, well, I don't give a shit. Like, I think it's funny. I don't really care if it offends people. Or in my mind, I'm just like, it's not even offensive. It's just like, I don't want to make fun of someone or make them feel bad for like who they are. Yeah. So you want to do something that feels like uplifting, even if it's funny. And it doesn't feel like that crazy of a challenge to me, but it does feel like it is a big shift for a lot of people that have been working for a long time.
And you know what's crazy though? This is the last side rant I'll do on this really, really lovely topic. But oh my gosh, with the whole, like, what's his name? Maddie something, Taylor's now ex.
Oh.
I only get these things through, like, Instagram algorithm shit, but whatever. When I listened to the sound clip, I was kind of like, oh my God, there's still straight guys out there with platforms who think this is funny. And it's like, I was like, what's funny about this at this point? You know, like, how do you even like feel good about yourself when you're making fun of people when the world is like a cesspit of systemic oppression? That's a line from my show that Nick wrote for me.
I'm so annoyed. So annoyed. So Michelle talks about how she got frozen. She recounts her story, and there's kind of a recurring thing of Fry saying, I'm sorry, because her life is just getting worse and worse. She's like dating this guy who dumps her after she like paid for his college by being a dog attack dummy.
It makes no sense.
So
He's
wild.
like super rich, but needs her to be like a dog attack person in order to get through law school.
This is a trope too, because this is what Diane Keaton talks about in First Wives Club. You know, like she supported her husband. She supported her husband on his way up the ladder. And as soon as he hit success, then he wants a younger, hotter wife. And I think this is something that happens to women a lot, or happened at this time, or it was a big movie trope. But like lots of women, like female characters and things I've seen, talk about supporting a man on his way up, and then as soon as he hits success, it happens to Elaine in Seinfeld when she's dating the doctor. As soon as he passes his doctor's exam, he dumps her for a blonde. It's like a thing that we like accepted in society. This is a thing. Men, those rascals.
Yes, I have a question.
What?
So, we learn kind of as the episode goes on that maybe Michelle is not the most sympathetic character. Maybe she's a little devious and cunning in a sinister way. But
she used to be possessive and demanding.
Oh, yeah.
But now she wants stuff from me and wants to be around all the time. No, but my point is this. She says to Fry that his family never looked for him. So this is a big lore drop. And I'm curious about the timeline here, because in some of the future flashbacks that we see, we know that that's not really the case. But was that just the case when Michelle, before she got frozen, no one was looking for him? Like, I'm curious when we compare this to other flashbacks. Was she lying? Were people looking for Fry the whole time?
Well, you know, it took them a while to realize Fry was gone. And we learn later that it was Fry's dog, Seymour, that kind of first alerted them to something being wrong. But circumstances kept making them think like he's just somewhere they can't find him or whatever, you know? And it's not until Fry's mom's big episode that we learned that, like, all did miss him. They just didn't know what happened. And by the time they realized he was gone, he was like gone for good, you know?
Okay, that makes more sense to me. But let's put a pin in this and compare it to the future flashbacks. I just want to get a timeline going here.
Get a cork board and some red thread. But I think there's also like Michelle is conniving. I wouldn't put it past her to just kind of say what she needs to say. To isolate Fry, because she's feeling isolated and she doesn't like that Fry doesn't feel that way.
So Fry gives Michelle a tour of the future. There's like lots of giant bugs and weird creatures. She's really freaking her out.
She's visibly upset by the future.
Ariel, if you got sucked to the future, do you think you would enjoy it, or do you think you would react as Michelle is reacting and have a nervous breakdown?
I think, well, it depends. If, I guess, like, I'm genuinely concerned that, like, what will the Earth and humans be around in 1,000 years? So if, like, they're still here and they're still civilizational, like, use that as a caveat. I think it might be better. Like, I feel like if you look at what it was like for women or queer people or anyone that's, like, basically not a straight white guy, if you go backwards, it gets worse for everybody else. So I do think that, like, as things progress, like, maybe we could have a more genuinely, like, progressive society. So
that's a
that would be my
shockingly
hope.
optimistic answer, and I love it.
Well, I mean, I agree because absolutely there's been progress. I think I think there's always ebb and flow, and there's always been ebb and flow. And so we're always doing the whole, like, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But the progress can't be denied. So if we made the same incremental progress from here to year 3023, then we have to assume that maybe queer people are finally just, treated like human beings.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I just think it's like, what if, I actually think about it a lot of, like, what would have happened if I was born 50 years ago and I was, like, stuck in a relationship with a man? There was no, like, lesbian night at Hollywood and Highland where I met my wife. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just like, it feels like it would have been a different situation. And I have like this existential concern.
Back then.
That's what I wonder. It's like head in an oven moment. Even if now I'm a very happy person, but I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Astute Ariel.
On that note, they go to MoMA, and all of the art is painted on fat guys with their shirts off. And one of them is the construction worker guy, and he says he's on loan from the Louvre. And I think he lives a very interesting life, if that's true, because he also does construction in space.
He's a multifaceted character. He's always around when we need him. One of my favorite bits of the episode is when Fry's introducing Michelle to the Planet Express crew, and she responds with horrified screams to everyone.
This is Leela, scream. This is Bender, scream. This is the professor, and she looks over at Fry, and he nods, and she screams.
This is Hermes and Amy. Hi, nice to meet you. And this is Zoidberg, and then he screams. It's
perfect.
A perfect bit.
It's so good.
A perfect bit. It's that Borscht Belt comedy that is woven into Futurama. It's like it's a futuristic show with ragtime vaudeville burlesque jokes, and I fucking love it.
And kind of the final beat of that series of jokes is Michelle is nervously drinking tea with Amy, and she's like, "It's so nice to be around someone normal," and Amy just responds, I'm from Mars.
The perfect Amy response. Just so happy and so excited to... I'm from Mars.
Okay, so Michelle hates
We've lost Jinkx completely. They can't see this, but Jinkx is actually out of frame. 100% out of frame. We're back.
She's dead. She died.
Okay, go on.
So Michelle doesn't want to be at this time anymore, so she insists they freeze themselves together and go 1,000 years in the future again. And Fry responds like, whoa, I thought you were talking about one of those motels where the bed is shaped like stuff.
Okay.
And she asks why he must analyze everything with his relentless logic, and they freeze themselves.
And that's another thing. If you're a fan of the show, the fact that any character is saying that to Fry is so funny. Fry, why must you analyze everything with your relentless logic?
So they do it. They freeze themselves and they wake up in a barren wasteland. Like, I guess the future's not so good.
It's like Mad Max meets Children of the Corn.
Very Mad Max.
Shout
out to Kyle Buchanan. Sorry we couldn't get you on the Mad Max episode. Go buy his book, Blood, Sweat, and Chrome.
We we gotta kind of speed through this because we spent a lot of time.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, the rest of this is basically one joke, so we can break it down. They try and make a shelter. Michelle is just really nagging at him in a way that is not conducive to surviving in an apocalyptic
But Fry's
wasteland.
also helpless. His shelter is a hole in the ground, which we know from the last episode is his go-to.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
In moments of crisis. Isn't there another animal that just like, if a flounder? Flounders just like burrow.
A fish?
Yeah, I saw that in the new Lion King.
Yeah. So they are woken up after sleeping in their hole by kids with sticks, and they're taken to the post-apocalypse Mad Max Kids Society, where they're all kind of living in a junkyard. Did we like this? We meet
yes.
Butch, the leader.
The best bits in this are, for me, I'm just going to say the best bits overall, is when Michelle is goading Fry into taking over the society and says, I'm sick of the chief's girlfriend always flaunting that coyote pelt in my face. Cut to this little girl in a coyote pelt. And she's like,
Ooh la la.
ooh. And then the next best bit is it's a callback joke, but they're about to race to the death, and she's counting down, and she's like, Glorb, Splingle, Shkabai.
No,
it's Hebrew.
It's Hebrew.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. That was my favorite bit, is that it's like, what is it? A Hagstein Shalosh. That's something like that. And
I am such...
Or as Jinkx would call it, Glorb.
I thought
internet just broke.
I feel like such an ignorant.
no, it's so funny. Why would you know? And then the other bit that they connect. So one, they're Jewish, and when I heard that, I was like, "Oh my! I'm Jewish also." And then at the end, they're like, Hebrew school. We have to go on Wednesdays, and I'm like,
So
literally
funny.
my experience growing up. So the weird through line is that they're Jewish.
I thought, and I feel really stupid, and I feel like an insensitive, anti-Semitic asshole. But I thought it was a
What a
callback.
boy, am I right, Ariel?
Hey,
I thought,
I'm not Jewish. I want to clarify.
I thought it was a callback to the Poplars episode when
Yes.
Queen was singing.
Queen
Enda. But it was just Hebrew, and I feel so.
oh my god. No, it's fine. It's like how it was such a deep cut. Also, I like the skateboarding
But
joke.
it's also
that
kind of like the skateboarding joke is great. I dated a skateboarder, and he hurt himself really, really badly, and then it became my problem. Anyway.
Yeah. I just thought that was very solid. This weird, like, Jewish Hebrew school through line absolutely fucking killed me.
Well, yeah, the kind of reveal after they have this like death race, which is called death rolling, even though their skateboards have rockets and there are no wheels, so I don't know why it's called rolling. It like takes them through like a freeway, and like on the freeway, like Mad Max tanks are like shooting at each other with lasers and like blowing up. And they finally crash, and Butch skins his knee. So Fry overthrows society by ripping away the handkerchief, but the kids just take out guns and say, you know, we're in charge. That's when the mom shows up in like a SUV to take them all to Hebrew school. Yeah.
Which works later with the reveal of the episode.
With the reveal, because Fry and Michelle go their separate ways. Michelle is like, when we get back to the hole, we're going to have a long, boring talk about our relationship.
Yeah.
So Fry finally has enough, and he walks away.
Well, just one shout out really briefly, which for the Butch segment and all of those characters, I'm about 95% sure that Butch is Kath Soucie, who
the
does
voice actor.
Yeah, a lot of different child characters, like Qbert and stuff on the show.
Oh,
and
cool.
I will say, just watching her go through, she can do like 18 different children's voices back to back. It's just like this incredible thing, I will say, of like watching the voice actors that are associated with this show. It's honestly like a virtuoso level performance from everybody involved, even like the smaller characters. And it's just so crazy watching, I'll just say, like a regular actor come in and give a performance, which honestly will be, you're like, oh, that's okay. And then seeing these people come in and getting to work with these guys who are just like absolute fucking geniuses at what they do is really cool. And I think Kath is one of those people for sure.
Listen, I'm so familiar with lots of Kath's work, and
You're a voice actor also, right?
that's not what I was gonna say. But
Okay.
and I was gonna
So
say.
I know a thing or two about this.
So spread my name around. No, here at 40% Podcast, we worship at the altar of Tress McNeil.
Oh my God.
So if you ever get the chance to tell Tress that like she has two like very queer diehard fans of her body of work.
Happy to.
And I think she's probably my favorite stuff on Disenchantment also. Like all of her characters are so good on that.
Yeah.
Just every time I hear her voice, it's like, yes, like yes, another Tress character. She's just
so good.
great.
And she has a name that sounds like it's a made up Futurama name. So it feels like it does work well in the show. But I think you'll be happy with the new season. And
I can't wait.
she's such a delight. Also, it's just so crazy because I feel like and then I'll let us move along. But like in the writer's room, I think there's like some attempts at more sensitivity probably than there has been in the past. Not so with the voice actors. It is the dirtiest, most foul place. And it's like her and Billy West and all these people talking. I'm just truly shocked at what comes out of their mouth in the best possible way.
Yeah, it's like that,
to be a
it's
fly
that
on the
old
wall.
school, you know? It's that old school stuff where it's kind of like, you just love watching a bunch of people in their element doing
Yeah.
and with each other, interacting with each other and speaking their own language.
Yeah.
It's like a drag queen dressing room, you know? It stops being English and starts just being squawks and, you know, like, oh,
Fry walks off from Michelle into the wasteland. He would rather walk through the wasteland than pursue this relationship anymore. And he sees a city on the horizon, a futuristic post-apocalyptic city. And he walks up to it and he finds footprints and he realizes he's at the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And this is just regular Los Angeles. He didn't travel to the future at all.
And when he gets back together with the Planet Express crew, he keeps describing the post-apocalyptic war world, and they keep saying,
But
yeah,
people are
that's-
driving around and shooting each other with guns.
Yeah, that's Los Angeles.
And then the peak absurdity of like, and everyone's a phony and no one reads and everything has cilantro on it.
That was the best bit.
Really good. I will say I think this is a little bit of anti-LA propaganda. This
Oh my
is
gosh.
This is a very New Yorker heavy writer's room, if I could guess. And I think
No,
This is-
actually.
okay, well I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Well,
Or
there's
no,
some
but
sort
you're
of
right that there
20
is-
years
yeah.
ago. Like, LA feels different these days. I mean,
Yeah, I guess
went
20 years ago, I
went
would have
there
rather
when I
been
was
in New York than LA.
14, which is about 20 years ago. And I remember feeling like, ooh. And now when I go there, I'm like,
It depends. So I'm from LA. So I feel like it depends on where you're at also. I don't know what you saw when you were 14. But where you got dropped off.
I fell in the La Brea tar pits.
Deep in eyes.
This
Just
is in all the papers.
but yeah, I think I'll say as like a native person, it all felt spot on too. It wasn't
It was also
completely
very
insane.
funny.
Yeah, it was like everything does have cilantro.
Setting it on Hollywood Boulevard, like that place is a full dump.
Horrible.
So that's where to do that joke.
Yeah.
So we find out that Michelle and Pauly Shore are now together.
And I believe this is an homage or an exact recreation of her scene in the pilot where she drives off with some man and
It
leans out the
is,
window
it
and
is.
says,
Oh.
it's not
It's
going to
not
work out, Fry.
It's not Sarah voicing her in that first flashback, but
Which is
they
interesting
are
to me.
recreating that moment.
Mm-hmm. And they fly back to New York now that they figured all this out. And the professor is like, I don't know why I even fired you in the first place. And then Bender, ironically, who was also part of the thing, says, it's because he destroyed your home and business. And then Professor says, oh, right, get lost, and dumps Fry out of the spaceship without actually giving him his job back.
I also love the moment when Bender and Leela are there and they don't know Fry's coming in. And they're like, come on, Professor, just give us our jobs back. Fry will never have to know. And then Fry goes, hi, everyone. And then it says, this is my girlfriend who's been frozen alive from the past. And they all clap for her.
That was very
such a funny moment.
Just like polite golf claps. It's really funny. Ariel, any other favorite moments that we gleamed over?
I don't think so.
We hit 'em all.
I did like the Fry line, like, all right, if it'll make you happy, I'll overthrow society.
Great line.
There's just I think that was the thing that I love about this episode, which does feel so classic Futurama, which is this really relatable premise of dating an ex that you shouldn't get back together with in the most insane sci-fi way possible. So I feel like it is all these just insane things that happen, but it is something that it's like everyone's done and been like, why did I do that?
Yeah,
so.
The Cord is an episode about you shouldn't get back together with your toxic ex, which I think is really funny. Oh, great. Is it time, Mom?
Yeah, hit it.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Ariel, you've been such a lovely guest.
Lovely.
We have compulsory questions that we ask every guest. Are you ready to answer them? You can answer them however you want.
Let's do it.
Okay, first question. Who in the Futurama universe do you most relate to?
Okay, so I don't feel that there's like one Futurama character that I'm like, that's me. Like, I genuinely just enjoy it, but I would say, Leela has kind of a gay-ish vibe and the tank top thing and sort of
a little queer-coded, yeah.
Yeah, confused relationship with her femininity. Like, there's always a bit of an awkward tension there. And I feel like I related to that, especially growing up. But so maybe that with some of Fry's like occasionally stupid optimism. I'd say maybe a fusion there. Yeah.
Leela was such a powerful character, and continues to be. But the fact that she has all the qualities you just listed, and she is the show's like female lead, ingenue, love interest, sex icon, Of course, Amy's very sexy. The whole crew is very sexy. But Leela is, shut up. But Leela's like, she's the femme fatale, but she is also a misfit, and she also is kind of like butch at times, and people are really mean to her.
She doesn't always do the right thing. It's like her sleeping with Zap is sort of could have been an unpopular situation, back in those early episodes. But yeah, I think that is what's so great about her is she's not just like the eye-batting ingenue that has like two silly lines. So I do feel like they did a good job with her.
Absolutely.
That just raises further questions.
I'm experimenting with, is that funny? Is it good?
Yes.
Because we're in the questioning.
Our next question is, who in the Futurama universe would you do?
Okay, well, I'm going to give, I think, maybe an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say the Amazonian women, based on looking like an Olympic softball team. They are some butch big ladies, so I would let them snooze to me.
Are you worried about how aggressive they are as lovers?
Yeah, I mean, though, I feel like it's not the most like overly sexual show in certain ways. So it's like, they're kind of in for it and they're buff. I don't know. There's like there's something there. They would break you.
It only becomes life-threatening when you're having like marathons of Amazonian sex. Yeah, so you could just hook up like once a week and it would be great. Just recover.
I think they would crush you to death, but it'd be like the best death. The best death. Yeah.
That just raises further questions.
I don't think I need to do it. Should I do it every? Okay.
No, I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out. Ariel, this question feels a little redundant, but we ask every guest, has watching this episode made you want to watch more Futurama, and will you be watching the new season of Futurama?
What if I was like, no? Yeah, I mean, I will say it actually made me want to go back and rewatch. I mean, I've seen all the episodes, but I will say I had the realization, like, when I was coming into Futurama that I was like, I've seen this show a million times, and then realized I saw a lot of it very stoned in my early 20s, and therefore my memory of the specifics was not amazing.
That's the way it's meant to be viewed, I believe.
I think so, yeah. But so I think watching these classic ones was fun, and I, even writing on it, like I'll always continue to be like a fan of the show and of the early episodes. So yes, and of course I will be watching the new season. I hope everybody does. I genuinely think it turned out so well. Like, I feel like it is speaking to people like you guys that are really, truly diehard fans and know all of the little, like, niche stuff. Like, that is taken, I feel like they've taken kind of, like, account of that and put those things in, but also making it relevant to, like, what's going on now. So I think people are going to be hopefully very pleasantly surprised by how well they turned out.
I can't wait.
I hope. So please watch it.
I'm so excited
July
to hear
24th
that.
on Hulu.
And you are such a lovely guest, and we love that you're
thank
working
you.
on the show.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it as gay as possible.
Where can the people find you?
Ariel_Ladensohn on Instagram. And if you're watching animated comedies, you might be watching something that I wrote on. 50-50 shot. Yeah.
That's ARIELLADENSOHN.
Well done.
Because Ariel Ladensohn.
You got it. Hey.
So before we
It's
sign off,
definitely the first time I heard Ladensohn. Where's that from?
So it's actually
Is that not the way to ask that?
No. What are you? It's my married name. When I got married to my wife, I took on her last name. So it's
a good
hers.
name.
We both had kind of Jewy last names, so I've exchanged one for another. I think it's like German means something, but yeah. It's
son
Jewish. We're of the shtetl.
The son of a ladder.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. You nailed it.
So, programming note, if you are listening to this show, next week you do not watch season 3, episode 4 of Futurama. You watch season, 11? 10? What's it called?
Yeah. Well,
New
I thought it was 8,
Futurama.
but it's 11 because of the
reshuffling
reshuffling of all the
The
episodes.
reshuffling, which we really should have
The
talked to you
grand
about.
reshuffling.
We have a lot of questions about the season reshuffling.
I don't care.
Anyway, so I think
You can
though,
DM me, Nick. I have to
I think-
answer any questions.
I want to know all about it. But before we get out of here, Jinkx, I think what we need to do before we sign off is come up with some super complicated in-universe justification for us going into the future and reviewing these new episodes. So, do you think Ariel should beat me up and put me in a tube, or
Yeah, we'll tube
we
you
did that
guys.
last time?
Is this going to be part of the episode? Us discussing
I think this is it. Yeah. So
Okay.
how do we do it?
Oh,
People like
I know.
these bits.
The tube is obvious.
We're going to Encino Man you guys. We're going to put you in a giant block of ice and bury you in Jinx's
It's different.
backyard.
It's different. Because it's not a
different.
tube. It's a
So-
big block of ice.
Yeah.
So, Ariel, do you mind voice acting that real quick?
No. We're
You
on
Pauly
the
Shore?
Zoom. We can't get the cameras in front of the big freezer that Ariel is about to put us in, where we will become big blocks of ice.
No,
but Ariel
it's just
and
a big
we're
tub.
gonna get
It's
together.
a big tank.
Yes.
And I'm going to throw you in and it'll be like you're getting like cryogenic freezing, but we're just going to slowly lower the temperature over time.
Awesome. Perfect,
Check you
Ariel.
out.
Thank you.
Climate change.
Thank you for helping us.
Anytime.
Thank you for helping us. And
Yeah.
if people want the super complicated bits, we're still doing them. So that's for the super fans out there. And that's the end of the show. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Awesome.
It was really nice meeting you, Ariel. You are the future. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. Honestly, this has been amazing. Thank you guys so much for having me on. And I'm going to keep listening to the pod. So I'm excited to see what you guys say.
Thank you so much, Ariel. And we'll see you in a
Anytime.
bit when
That
we
makes
come to your big
12
tank and get
listeners.
frozen. So Mom, get in the plane. We have to go to the tank and get frozen now. Okay, thank you, everyone. That's the lore. Bye.
I better be flying first.
Wow.